If you're ready to hit the track in the iRacing Ford FR500S Mustang, then sign up for the Barber Ford Mustang Club today. With great prizes from our awesomes, this league is fast, fun, and best of all, free to race in. Take on 6 races of wheel-to-wheel action, all broadcasted live on Pit Stop TV. Remember, you will receive a $500 voucher to Barber Ford, plus entry into a raffle for a brand new pattern shifter. Every on the track is 1 entry into the raffle, meaning you can race your way into a brand new Fanatec shifter drawn on December 15th. Battle your competitors at Charlotte Motor Speedway, Watkins Glen, Road Atlanta, Barber Motorsports Park, Brands Hatch, and for the finale, Lime Rock Park. Join the Barber Ford Mustang Club at League ID 335.
Welcome to the virtual Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, where we're having some technical difficulties, at least we have been, and that's why tonight is going to be a bit of an expedited intro with 5 minutes remaining in qualifying. Glad to welcome you in to another round of the Noble Can-Am Series in their inaugural season. Now, things are a little bit different coming into this evening, only in that our broadcast time has been cut off just a little bit at the beginning of things. We can still take a look, of course, at our Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course track map. And of course, turn number 1, a very difficult corner for these race cars, especially these super late models, as a late model stock driver goes to the top of the board. The keyhole will be a big time passing opportunity at turn number 2. Of course, China Beach at turn number 4, the heaviest braking zone on this course, checking in at just about 2.25 miles or so. Turn 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 through the S's into Thunder Valley at turns 10 and 11. Going to be very tricky for those supers, of course. Once those tires get up to temp, they will still be able to get out of turn 2 at the keyhole down to turn 4 pretty speedily, but getting the power down initially out of the keyhole is going to be difficult, especially with how this racetrack is built. And tire wheel spin is never something fun to deal with here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, but it's something these drivers will have to deal with in round number 5. Next week, we are off, actually, for August 6th, and then it'll be August 13th, actually, that we're back in action after this evening, as we have a couple of M courses here on the schedule in the mid-portion of this season's set of races. So Mosport coming up next for round 6, Atlanta for round 7, Sonoma for round 8, Long Beach, of course, for the championship at round number 9 in September. Let's take a look at our point standings coming into this evening. A look at them here with Zach Millett far above the rest once again, and it's going to stay that way, I think, as this season goes on. The big focus is going to be over in late model stock car competition with Brian McCann and Kevin McCann, birthday boy himself, sitting in the 2nd spot. Steve Singer in 3rd, Mark Thomas there in 4th, Troy Radford in 5th, and that's where things start to trail off a little bit from 4th on down. Some large deficits up to the race leader, but the top 3 still very much each in contention for this late model stock title. And really, I'm going to be honest, I think we've known this for a while. Zach Millett, far and away the championship, the one championship contender as it stands. Now, anything could still happen mathematically. If Millett were to miss some races and not be able to get, drops counted to his record, of course, Sean Roberts could make up enough points, technically, mathematically, but as things stand, with only 3 supers in the field this evening, it's not looking great. That said, it is looking great here in Sim. A nice sunny day. We are working into the evening hours, it looks like. 75 degrees, 75.5 degrees in the air, 79 degrees on the track. Mostly cloudy conditions. It does look rather cloudy, actually, now that I think about it. Zach Millett is on track in car 315, and it's just good to be here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Really do enjoy this place. I know a lot of drivers aren't necessarily fans of it, just because, honestly, I think it's difficult. It is a tricky road course, as you're seeing here with Zach Millett. We'll go on board and see how the track kind of falls away there out of turn number 2, out of keyhole. And I think you'll also see it in the fact that there is a nearly 5-second spread between 1st and 2nd in the super late models. Down in late model stock, though, boy, are things close as Alfie Sharon Jr. Wraps up his qualifying effort here in car number 78, first start of the season for Alfie. But Steve Singer, Jacob Elliott, just 3/100ths of a second apart, as across the line there goes car number 78, jumping up the board to 7th over Troy Radford, who drops to the 8th position overall, 7th in class. Sean Roberts also on track, and the big storyline here for Sean this evening is that he is having severe braking issues. The driver out of Pennsylvania, nearly 5 seconds off of pole in class. A lot of work to do. Now, of course, Zach Millett will have to start from the rear this evening, but going out there and turning some qualifying laps nonetheless. And I will say there are some added details that we didn't previously have in our race details coming into these events that I really want to take a moment to make everybody aware of. As Zach Millett goes fastest, surprise, surprise, now 7 seconds ahead of Sean Roberts. But while he does that, some big-time Whiplash SimCams race details to talk about. The fact that there is a difference in fuel load between these two car classes, and I think that has really been what gives us the opportunity for a one-stop race in super late models and a two-stop race in late model stocks every single week. And a place like Mid-Ohio, maybe you can save some fuel. I know it's come up in NASCAR races here in the past. NASCAR Xfinity Series races and NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series races have really gone to some interesting conclusions here before, but I don't know that we're going to see it. I think tonight is so cut and dry in super late models with just 3 drivers. This will be a very much Zach Millett race, just driving through the field and kind of cruising along. And I think part of that is just how difficult this car is to drive, and I'm not really sure what the solution is there. I think this series format set before us was just about as good as you could get it. The tire right now on the super late model versus the late model stock is just such a big difference that, of course, anybody that wants to race is going to want to race with a little bit of grip, at least a little bit of grip. And I think while difficult to drive cars are fun, I think this super late model has just been a little bit too much for these drivers to handle. And I can't say that I would be driving the super late model myself if I were presented with that option. So I think that's not even... I want to be clear, nothing the league is doing wrong. I think the league has the perfect format, honestly. If you want to do a Trans Am style series with late models, I think the problem is a difference in tires between the cars. That does it for qualifying. And of course, out front, car number 315, Zach Millett, fastest in qualifying. Well, let's take a look at our full starting grid. On pole, car 315, Zach Millett, your super late model and overall points leader. Following up, of course, Jason Duckworth in car 73, second quick of the field. Starting from the 3rd position will be Steve Singer in car number 6, winner last time out at Watkins Glen. He'll have to drop to the rear along with Zach Millett. Jacob Elliott will start from 4th, and this has to be a race that everybody looks at as Jacob Elliott's to win. With where he's starting in the field, with how much further back everybody else will be, oh boy, this has to be Jacob Elliott's race to win. Starting 5th, you'll find Brian McCann, not the birthday boy. The other brother there, Brian McCann, Patrick Piper, will start from the 6th spot. Of course, Brian McCann is our points leader. I shouldn't say other brother. He is our points leader this evening, coming into this race at the very least. Starting from the 7th position, we'll find Kevin McCann, who is our, well, I was hoping our timer would go, but is our birthday boy. So happy birthday, of course, to Kevin McCann out there. Hopefully we're talking to him later on in the evening. Alfie Sheridan Jr. will start from the 8th position. Starting 9th, it'll be Troy Radford in car 94. Leonardo Elijah from the 10th spot. And really, I should make the asterisk here. This is a little bit off. Technically, these late model stock positions are all off by 2. So really, the end of the late model stock top 10 will be Eric Beadle and Brandon Mefford back here, with Sean Roberts moving up, at least I think, to the front of the field. I say that, but I don't see him in the grid. It looks like maybe Roberts being left off the grid this evening. Truxell back there, though, along with Eddie Rose, making it a 15-car field. So here in just a moment, these drivers will roll away from the grid, and there they go, finally rolling away from the short grid, if you will, here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. A 36-lap race before them. Back to our Whiplash SimCams race details. 36 laps, 45% super late model fuel, 40% late model stock fuel, 2 change sets in the pits, 1 faster pair if they want it, and incident penalties every 21 incidents. Into the restart zone here at Mid-Ohio. We are green for 36 laps of racing in the Noble Can-Am Series. Already, Kevin McCann goes for a birthday slide, gets loose out of turn number 1, loops it around, and he'll be dropping to the rear of the field as his brother brings the fight to Jacob Elliott into the keyhole for the first time today. 3rd, you'll find Patrick Piper. 4th, you'll find Alfie Sheridan Jr. 5th is Troy Radford, and further back, of course, Steve Singer having to work through the field. He's now ahead of Mark Truxell. Kevin McCann back here behind Eddie Rose, and bringing up the rear of our field. Already into China Beach, though, our race leader, car number 315, Zach Millett, way out ahead of the rest. No surprise there, as we are through the first 4 and now 5 corners of this course and this race. The leaderboard there on the left side of the screen. That'll be how you track these drivers throughout the course of tonight's race. Zach Millett, though, out and away with a big time. And I forgot, he does not go to the rear for this race because Spencer Torrance won last week at Watkins Glen. And that is why car 315 is going to have one of the largest margin of victories, I think, tonight that you'll ever see. in this series. Meanwhile, leading in late model stocks after a lap of racing, car number 07, Jacob Elliott. What a race this could be for him. If he's able to stay mistake-free as he has just about his entire career so far in this series, I know it's only a few races, boy, this could be a big day for him as well. Already you're seeing he has got something the others don't, and problems. Car 78 turned around out of New England. That is Alfie Karen Jr. Karen Sharon, I'm not sure. Sharon? Regardless, Alfie spun around there out of turn number 1. Meanwhile, an update to car number 6, Steve Singer here on lap number 2, down the backstretch into turn number 4, China Beach. And he has already worked up to Leonardo Elijah, working on the number 43 here in turn number 5 as they enter the S's at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Such a difficult piece of racetrack. And already Steve able to outbreak the 43, kind of get a mistake there, and that opens the door. Here we go into Thunder Valley here at turn number 9. He makes the pass, goes on through, and Steve Singer moves into the 5th position in class, making quick work of the 43. For the back problems, Brandon Mefford. That is not at all where I would have expected a race car to be, but the Zoe's place, number 83, is out in the weeds. Looking like those street stock drivers last night at Mobile International. That is way out there for Brandon Mefford. Let's take a look back and see how he got there in the first place. Here's number 83, Brandon Mefford out of Indiana. Oh, just overcooked it into turn 9, went straight and just caught that barrier. I don't think there's anything he could have done once he already made that initial mistake. I really don't think he could have done anything to keep it out of the barrier at that point. Let's get a look on board here. Brandon Mefford into the braking zone for turns 8 and 9, and yeah, he just gave it one too many bits of throttle, if you will, and off into the barrier. Once you're along for that ride and you go over the crest of the hill there, there's really nothing you can do but hang on. And Mefford hung on, just unfortunately gets a lot of damage out of that. Mark Truxell being passed up now by Kevin McCann. Truxell seemed to be almost at home in the GT1s and Radicals that we've seen here for former iterations of series with these particular drivers, but this season in late model stock taking things a bit more easily. I think things will turn around though these last few races, get us some more familiar circuits like Mosport next race. Eddie Rose a problem, he gets passed up by Alfie Sharon Jr. And Steve Singer is now working on Troy Radford. These drivers wrapping up lap number 3. And that difference between these two cars now down within a second. And this is a long race for these guys, especially with a lighter car count. This is going to be very much just a matter of attrition, and that's something that definitely sets in at Mid-Ohio, and we see this. I think it's fair to say we see this in a lot of Mid-Ohio races as Eric Beadle goes around. This is a tough track. It's a little bit shorter, a little bit more close quarters, and I think promotes a little bit of contact, promotes a little bit of hard racing sometimes. It definitely makes it tough as there goes Steve Singer straight on by the 94 of Troy Radford thanks to the draft on the backstretch of China Beach. Of course, fixed setups. Steve had to set that one up and did so nicely. Loose there out of turn 4 though. And I do wonder if these cars are a bit more free these days than in past races here in the series, because we're really seeing the late model stock cars hang out the rear end today and go for it. But point being, I think Mid-Ohio traditionally takes less cars usually in a league setting like this than other tracks like Watkins Glen, even Mosport next week. Typically you get smaller car counts at a place like Mid-Ohio. Don't know what the reason is, but we're seeing that this evening. So what this means is we have very much an attrition race on hand. These guys have got to be absolutely perfect over the course of 36 laps, because if there's fewer cars, of course that means there's fewer points, positions up for grabs. There's also a smaller difference between the top and the bottom of the field as far as points paid out at the end of the race goes. It also means there's larger gaps usually between drivers. That means it's harder to pick up positions, and those positions of course are harder to come by as far as the points. So it really is a very, very difficult kind of race when you open up Mid-Ohio and see, oh man, this guy couldn't make it tonight, or this guy had this going on and isn't here, or this guy doesn't own the track yet, or whatever. You open up a race like this where it's very much from the get-go an attrition kind of day. We're going to see these micro battles, if you will, like we're seeing now with Brian McCann and Patrick Piper. But for the most part, this is going to be a matter of wait. Let the race come to you. Let the track come to you. Simply take it one corner at a time. And don't get too far ahead of yourself. Especially do not burn the tires, as we already see a nearly 4-second gap between Elliott and McCann for first and second in late model stocks, and nearly an 8.5, 9-second gap between Zach Millett and Jason Duckworth in supers. As these laps go on, trouble. Eddie Rose in the back, position number 12 in class, and that is the same spot that Brandon Mefford had an issue for the track bar media, number 88. And unfortunately, leaders will be around here shortly to lap the number 88 here of Eddie Rose. But let's take a look as to how he got there in the first place. Racing with Brandon Mefford, oddly enough, and does the exact same thing, just a little bit differently. Oh, I don't think that's any better of a way to do it, though. Oh boy. And the big difference here that we'll see when we go on board is that Rose kind of throws the car sideways towards the barrier, whereas Mefford let the car kind of go straight off and nose into the barrier. Oh, that is a big, big hit. Ends up hitting twice there, the driver out of the Virginias. That is a really bad spot and really bad way to hit that wall. One more time. This is a really big impact. Oh, I don't think you want that at all. So a really bad spot there. Eddie Rose going way off course and now into the pit lane, as I think you might imagine what happened as a result of that. So car number 88 coming in. He is not alone actually in the pits. At least in having come to the pits. I think he's already at 21 incidents, but another driver having come to the pits already was Sean Roberts. I say that, it looks actually like he might have just started from the pit lane. Although it's a little bit hard to say the way telemetry is presenting it as, oh boy, car 78, don't tell me that's the same exact place. That's the same exact place. This cam up. Oh no, okay, no, it's not. It looked similar. That's down to the carousel. It's an odd place for the 78 car to be off course, but we'll take a look at it, of course. Alfie Sharon Jr., first start in the series this evening. Off into the grass. At least not out into the weeds like Mefford earlier. And very little damage by comparison. A very light bit of contact there for the number 78. Thankfully, able to drive away without too much issue. Of course, you saw there in our graphic, these are the same cars that are used in the Cars Late Model Stock Tour, the Solid Rock Carriers Cars Late Model Stock Tour. These same exact cars that you would have seen at Hickory Motor Speedway earlier today on Flow Racing, or if you were there in person as they concluded their portion of the Throwback 225, used to be the Throwback 276. Of course, the biggest throwback race in short track racing, but the same car. And it's interesting that we can take this same car that you run at places like Hickory, you run at places like Wake County, you run at places like Tri-County, and so many other places, Pulaski County, Dominion, Langley. Let me know if your local short track comes up in that list, but that we run at so many of these local short tracks across the Southeast. You take the same exact race car here on iRacing, and you can go road course racing with it, and theoretically you can do the same thing in real life. You just don't see it happen. I don't think those late model stock boys across the Southeast really want to risk going and tearing their stuff up at a road course any more than they do on an oval. Just watching Jacob Elliott, I do want to say this guy has been absolutely amazing since joining the series. And I know a couple of times he's got a little bit aggressive. I was very critical of Jacob at Montreal, to be exact, and his racing with Spencer Torrance. But he has really shown why he's able to be aggressive, why he's allowed to be aggressive, why he deserves to be able to go out there and race drivers in the way that he does. Not out of any kind of negative, any kind of anything. It's just, he's quick, he's got speed, he wants to go win races, he's trophy hunting, if you will, and doing a good job of it. I know he's only one race at this point, I believe, maybe two. So maybe still doing a little bit of early trophy hunting, if you will. Still needs to add to that total a bit. But that's because he entered this series, I believe, in the second race as opposed to the first race. So he missed out on Miami. Joined us at Lime Rock. And I don't think he won Montreal in between there. I don't recall, actually, who won Montreal. It might have been Brian McCann. I'm pretty sure the McCann brothers each have a win. Steve Singer has a win. Jacob Elliott has a win. I believe each four of the races that have been run so far have each gone a different way, with those four drivers each grabbing one, as Brandon Mefford has a problem, goes off track a bit and loses a spot. Oh, very much the opposite, actually. Sean Roberts off track at a turn number one. And this guy said in the league Discord chat that he was having some trouble with brakes, and oh no. Well, that's one way to do it. Might have been a little hard to see there from the drone wide angle, but what we've just seen is a very, very painful mistake from Brandon Mefford. Loose in turn number one as he hit the curbing, sure does. Gets loose off the curbing and spins right into Sean Roberts, who was just trying to leave the pit lane. Can you believe it? Oh my goodness. On board with Sean Roberts here as he's just trying to leave the pits. And here comes Mefford. You never even see him. You never even see him. That is so unfortunate for the 66 car. Thankfully, Sean Roberts is recovering. Although his race, I think, is likely more or less completely shot at this point. That kind of felt like the final nail in the coffin for him, but we have a battle sparking up. This for the 4th position in late model stocks and 5th overall. Steve Singer working here on Patrick Piper, makes quick work of the 38 car, goes right on by into turn number 8. And now into Thunder Valley, Steve Singer now setting his sights on one Brian McCann. The gap currently about 1.5 seconds between those two drivers, and it kind of ebbs and flows, but one thing that's going to change it is this battle here. McCann working on Jason Duckworth. Duckworth, of course, is a super late model. He's got great straight line speed, but in a situation like this where Brian McCann needs to get going to try and save his second spot, he's going to be a lot faster in the corners, and he's going to very much close in on that 73 car and then fall back a little bit. This has been tough to manage. We've seen this right back to that conversation about Jacob Elliott back at Montreal, where we saw him be very aggressive with Spencer Torrance. Now you see that 73 gets very small up ahead of the number 3 car here of Brian McCann. Pulls away on the straightaway, and I guarantee you he'll catch back up through the mid portion, the rest really of this lap through turn 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. All the way back around to the front stretch. And here you can see it even tracks already, making up 2/10 there, 3/10 there. Very quickly closing in on Jason Duckworth. And the timing even going a little bit haywire there for a moment. We are live. That was interesting, but anyways, Brian McCann right on the back end here of Jason Duckworth. This for the 3rd spot overall, and a battle between different classed drivers, different classed cars. Duckworth in a super late model, McCann in a late model stock, and McCann's trying to force it there on the inside of the carousel. Couldn't make it happen. Here comes Steve Singer. That's what you've got to be careful of. You might want to take an opportunity as soon as it comes to you, but then you're going to open up an opportunity for somebody else. The good news here from McCann is now Duckworth is driving away a little bit, and he can breathe. There's no imminent threat in these couple of braking zones unless McCann makes a large mistake for Singer to get by. So Brian can at least relax for a moment. I don't see Steve Singer making a move here to turn 4. Still too far back. If anything, it's going to happen around turns 8 and 9 if Singer is able to make up that much time. And quite frankly, that's going to be tough to do as they go down through the gears into second gear through turn 4, first gear here at turn 5. Great attack there at the corner for McCann. Now turn 6, bottom of the hill, beginning of the S's. And you can see they're reeling Duckworth back in. How does Singer approach this? Obviously, a great opportunity to try and use him as a pick to get by the 3 car of McCann. But don't look now. Piper's still in this conversation. He's not far back. Only about, well, a couple of seconds, a little further back than I thought. And here we go. It comes to a precipice once again through the carousel where they catch up to the 73 of Duckworth. And McCann has got to be smart here, and he is. He runs into the pit lane. What a move. Oh. Wow. If Brian McCann saw that while he was pitting, I'm sure he is livid. At least I would be livid. I would be frustrated right now with the 73 because as soon as McCann pulled off, I don't know if you caught it there in the background of the shot, as soon as McCann pulled off, so too did the 73 but in a different way. He gets way loose, opens the door completely wide for the 6 car of Steve Singer to go by at the exact corner that Brian McCann had tried to pass the lap prior. So wrapping up the pit stop, Brian McCann now back onto the racetrack. A total pit time of 10.45 seconds, fuel only for the number 3. A very quick stop. He'll be taking tires later on. Patrick Piper also pitted there, 10.83 seconds for him, fuel only there. And Kevin McCann taking a little more fuel, 13.6 seconds, but no tires for the number 33 car from what I can tell, unless he took less sides. And those 3 pit stops all happening on the same lap. Kevin McCann now, by the way, 10th overall, 8th in class, has some work to do after going to the rear very early in this race and having that birthday slide on lap number 1. Of course, Duckworth out of the way of Steve Singer means the 6 car can keep making up ground ahead. He has 8.8 seconds to Jacob Elliott, and it looks like he's lapping a little bit faster. Last lap, about a 10th difference. Actually, no. Last lap, Singer was slower. I was looking at this a little bit wrong. Elliott's got the faster fast lap, has the faster last lap. Right now, I think Jacob Elliott's got this race in the bag, so long as he executes perfectly on pit lane, doesn't have a slip-up, doesn't let a lap car get to him. I don't see how the 07 will lose this race otherwise. A really, really wonderful day on hand for the 07 car. Mark Truxell in the pit lane, taking service, and up on the jacks. That will be, it looks like a 4-tire stop for car number 5. Up in the air, should be dropping, there we go, dropping out any time, and they'll get out and away. It looks like maybe somebody potentially saving fuel? Couldn't quite tell. But I heard a very different engine note going by Mark Truxell that time. Regardless, we have a race leader into the pit lane. Here comes car number 07, Jacob Elliott, coming in for his first bit of service in the number 07, and he is joined by Steve Singer, tonight's pole sitter. A little bit late into his box, just gets the lineup right, unlike another 6 car today, and Elliott down and away. Elliott's pit time, let's see, 11.35 seconds, fuel only. Singer's pit time, 12.05 seconds, and a slow exit from the box. Singer definitely has some work to do. of course, Steve was your pole sitter tonight, but, well, he is quite a ways now, 9 seconds and growing behind the number 07 car. There you see the number 3 of Brian McCann. Troy Radford now leaving the pit lane. Leonardo Elijah has gone by, is in turn number 2. There's Radford out of the pits now. And Brandon Mefford goes yet another lap around the course, no pit stop. I wonder if Brandon is trying to make this a one-stop race. It would be very, very difficult to do in a late model stock car. At this point in time, if you haven't pit yet, you've pretty much made your bed and it's time to lie in it. Meanwhile, in Supers, here we go, pit stops. Zach Millett into the pit lane. And we should see Duckworth come on through the next time as well. And there he is, Jason Duckworth into the pit lane in car number 73, right on schedule. And so this will be a 2-stop race for the Supers. I think they tried to look at the viability maybe of a 1-stop, but it's not going to happen. Full tires and fuel stop there for Zach Millett. Duckworth will be doing the same, I'd imagine, actually. Yep, there we go. Late on the jacks, but the number 73 does go up in the air for 4 tires. There you go, Leonardo Elijah in the background coming down the pit lane. Car 43 coming in. That's an important pit stop, one of the final dominoes to fall in late model stocks. And now we just await the number 83 on board with Mefford here. It's interesting as well that Elijah waited this long. Maybe Mefford will come in this lap. Maybe he'll still make it a 2-stop race as he gets off into the grass. Yeah, you may as well at that point. And sure enough, he will just let that take him into the pit lane. Tough day at the office for car number 83. It started off with some promise, quickly got taken off course, and that small mistake in turn number 13 has only made it more difficult for the 83 this afternoon. With pit stops cycled through, that leaves Zach Millett out front of everybody this afternoon, this evening, whatever you want to call it, at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, nearing halfway. And it's a 2-second gap between the two class leaders. We'll be right back after a quick Pit Stop TV side by side. Welcome back to the virtual Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course as the race rages on for the Noble Can-Am Series this evening. Glad to have you along with us. It has been a great night of racing so far. That said, it has been an admittedly quiet night of racing so far. Zach Millett walking away with the race lead as he so often does, slinging it out there through Thunder Valley here at Lexington, Ohio. A big-time race in store for car 315 as always in the super late models. Always so good here in the Noble Can-Am Series. Walking away with this one, 10 seconds back to Jacob Elliott, your late model stock race leader. Car number 07 has been great this season. Really showing where that speed comes from. Meanwhile, running in second spot, Steve Singer has gone on by Brian McCann, and that's been, I think, about the most exciting thing that's happened so far, as we've got a spin for Sean Roberts. Very tough spot of racetrack. And Kevin McCann, in that exact moment, also goes by Patrick Piper. We'll go back and take a look at what's just occurred to Sean Roberts first, and then kind of give you a rundown of how things have gone, and this will be why Patrick Piper gets passed up. You're into turn number 9. You see the 66 get loose. Piper kind of crashes into him just a little bit there, and there goes Kevin McCann around the left side of the 38 car. Gets that spot away as the 66 takes a moment to get back going, and finally does so, heading back into Thunder Valley. So a troublesome day for Sean Roberts at the office, but let's take a look at what we have upcoming the rest of this week here at Pit Stop TV. Worth taking a look at here as the race goes on behind us. Tomorrow evening we head out to Hickory Motor Speedway for Elite Performance Industries Short Track Mondays, continuing on a summer tradition that we started this year. It has been so much fun. Legend Cars, their final race on the channel tomorrow night at 8 p.m. Eastern at Hickory Motor Speedway, July 31st. The Cars Tour just ran there. Now throwing some legends around the racetrack. Virtually should be a lot of fun before we throw some late model stock cars around there later in August. Then Wednesday evening is the return of the UFL Elite Series to Pit Stop TV. We ran Season 5 earlier this year. Season number 6 bringing the Gen 4 Cup car. Yeah, that's right. The NASCAR Gen 4 Cup car. A big throwback there to the channel for the very first time. Of course, the ARCA body, if you will, that we've seen for several years on iRacing, now with a big motor and way less grip on Wednesday evenings. So we'll be kicking things off at Daytona International Speedway August 2nd for the UFL Firecracker 200. Then Sunday evening, we head out to Michigan International Speedway, just like the NASCAR Cup Series stars, with the Shake and Bake Racing Butt Kicker Cup Series. August 6th to 9 p.m. Eastern. Do not miss these broadcasts. We've got a lot of fun coming up the rest of the week. Of course, make sure to follow us on social media. Make sure to also check out our partners. A lot of people make these broadcasts possible. Whiplash Media, SimCams, ATVO, and CC's Business, all doing so much for us. I mentioned there wasn't a whole lot that really happened while we were gone, and that's the truth. One thing that's happened, though, is Sean Roberts taking his fast repair and getting back out on track here shortly. That's a good thing. Another thing that's happened is Eddie Rose having some big-time trouble, and now off course again. It's been a rough day here for Eddie Rose, off track a whole bunch. Finding his way back on course, though, in car number 88. Also, Eric Beadle has retired from the remainder of this race as of about 12 laps ago. Steve Singer did get by Brian McCann. That's the biggest headline in the top 3 for late model stocks, at least, that he's come back through this field. Of course, he won last week at Watkins Glen International, his home race. I know he's 9 seconds back of Jacob Elliott, but he has been keeping that margin right where it is for some time, about 8.8 to 9.2 seconds or so. So the maintaining has been phenomenal here from the 6 car. I don't know that there's really anything he can do. 9 seconds is a lot to just make up, but this is at least keeping some level of pressure, I'd say, on the 07 just to not mess up. You can't give this race away, because Steve Singer will be there waiting for his opportunity to go ahead and pounce, as we are inside of 15 laps to go. And as I mentioned earlier, while we were focusing on Millett and Elliott, This is a long race. This is 36 laps at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, about an hour of racing for these drivers. It's not easy to do that without mistake, and I think we're seeing that now as Millett slings it out wide a little bit through the carousel and back up onto the front stretch. The downshifts into turn number 1, and loose, I'd imagine, there in turn 1 as well, a little bit. We still have 14 cars racing, I will say. I love the determination from these drivers to get these races complete, and there is, thankfully, a bonus from the league to these drivers. Every single race you complete, it's an extra 5 points. So if you just get through the race, if you just finish the race, 5 points. That's big. Brian McCann still well ahead of his brother Kevin McCann, who is celebrating a birthday today. I didn't ask how many years, but I'm sure Kevin McCann thankful to go one more year around the sun here. And we're thankful too. We're glad he's in this series. The McCann brothers have made things a lot of fun here in the late model stock class. I'd be interested to see them go up into the supers. I feel like they've got it. They've got it down. They can do it. That said, if we harken back to our points panel coming into this evening, that's what makes this a whole lot more interesting. Of course, these two leading the way in our standings coming into this evening, and Jacob Elliott way down there in 6th. While yes, he can do some damage, he can really chip away at that lead, I don't think he'll be making up 300 points while the McCanns and Singer are still on the racetrack. I think he could get to Mark Thomas, certainly, considering Thomas is not here. He could certainly get to Troy Radford, considering that was a 2-point deficit. So I think it's realistic that Jacob Elliott finishes 4th in this championship, but quite frankly, I don't think he makes up enough points to go fight for the championship. It's between McCann, and Singer, which brings us back to Kevin McCann. 57 points back coming into this evening, only 7 points over Steve Singer, and Singer is 2 spots ahead. Now, if we go to the points format for this series, it's very much Trans Am. First grabs you 350, second grabs you 320, third grabs you 300, fourth grabs you 280. So, between Steve Singer and Kevin McCann, only 2 positions on the racetrack. The difference of 40 points. So this position, no matter of any bonuses, is going to swing the way of Steve Singer, while McCann, Brian McCann that is, pulls a larger advantage over his brother, but Steve Singer will admittedly get about 20 points closer to Brian McCann. They can get about a 40-ish, 45-ish point gap when we head to Mosport in a couple of weeks, and that's just going to tighten things down ever so slightly. And that also would bring things within a race, to where if Steve Singer were to go out there and win, you could just about, I guess it's not quite within one race, but you could just about take over the points lead of your Steve Singer with a race win. You would at least get to where it would be one more position after that. It's a 2-position kind of battle right now, no matter how you cut it up, where if Brian McCann slips up at any point in time, by 2 positions, he could lose the points lead. We got 1 car pitting, and that is... Ooh, who was that? Mark Truxell, car number 5. He brings in Eddie Rose as well. See the 5 back up on the jacks, taking tires. Rights and lefts. Eddie Rose also coming in the number 88. It looks like potentially no tires for car number 88, but he might be in here for a while. And hopefully that's not the last we see of the number 88 on the racetrack this evening. That would certainly be a disappointment. Another car coming in, looks like that might be Brandon Mefford, and sure enough, it is. It has been a tough day for Mefford. There goes Eddie Rose. Some 44 seconds in the pit box, a long stop there. Brandon Mefford you saw coming in just for fuel. So he obviously can't do the 1 stop that we talked about earlier. But he is taking a very short pit stop here, which I think is still worth noting. He ran an extra lap or so. As, oh my goodness, you see it in the background. At least this time, It wasn't Mefford into Roberts, but Roberts going for a spin out of turn number 1. Gets that car back going. What a tough day it's been for him. Unclear of the issue for the number 66 under braking, if it's a hardware or software issue or what's going on. But having some severe braking issues in the number 66. Now, that's not going to affect corner exit too much, but anytime things are not operating as they should be, it really is difficult to overcome as a driver. Anything that's different or not operating correctly is going to throw you off. Meanwhile, inside of 10 to go, in fact 10 to go this last time by, coming to 9 to go for our race leader, Zach Millett out front. No concerns to Duckworth. It's 48 seconds between those two. So our alien class is sorted. It really comes down to Jacob Elliott and whether or not he makes a mistake. If he opens the door potentially for Steve Singer to come on through and ruin the day. I say ruin the day. Ruin Elliott's day, of course. And let's take a lap around Steve Singer. We're going to let this begin in Thunder Valley so I can talk for just a second into the carousel. And let's just ride on board here. As we continue riding on board with Steve Singer, watch the bottom right, the telemetry graphic, as he goes on by Sean Roberts and his gear selection through these corners. An upshift there, a downshift here to turn 9. And that's a lap around Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. We'll watch it through to the start-finish. Up into third. We back down into second, I'm sure, here at turn number 11. Sure enough, second gear. Does he pop third? He does. Up to third gear, back down to second, really working the transmission this evening. And into the pit, Steve Singer comes in for some much-needed tires and fuel. And that was on old tires. If as old as those tires are they getting today, as he did not take tires at the first stop. I believe he'll be taking tires this time as Jacob Elliott is in and does fuel only. No tires for the 07. Could this be a tire-free race for the late model stocks? It looks like it's Singer. No tires for the number 6 car. Those tires will absolutely get more worn out. That is a big shake-up. As here we go, Duckworth gets on by Brian McCann down at turn number 1. Brian McCann also pitting last lap. Kevin McCann pitted with him. And they run 3rd and 4th. Troy Radford coming into the pit lane this time by. Driver out of Georgia. And he is not alone. I saw one more. I'm not sure who that was. We have a lot of pit signals going off, and here comes Zach Millett into the pit lane. We'll watch along as he takes service. Let's actually go on board with him here into the box and see how he gets it done. And he'll go up on the jacks. He'll take a full service pit stop. 4 tires all around. Kind of a no-brainer in the super late models, especially with a 50-second gap back to second place. Who, by the way, is just getting into Thunder Valley. This is Jason Duckworth racing with Brian McCann. This could be a little bit difficult. We saw this happen earlier where Duckworth actually held up the 3-car of McCann. And now, sure enough, as Duckworth's looking to pit, I'm sure, McCann is there on the 73. And here comes Duckworth into the pit lane, and that will take care of that once and for all. They shouldn't be seeing each other once again in this race. as the 73 comes on in for full service. We talked about it earlier, we'll talk about it again. Upcoming races for the Noble Can-Am Series. Next up, it's August 13th at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Then unfortunately, there is one race we're missing this season, and that's going to be Road Atlanta, round number 7, August 27th. We have prior commitments that evening that will keep us from covering that race. The Sonoma Raceway checks back in for round number 8, so it'll be nearly a month with no Noble coverage, unfortunately, here on the channel, but that's okay, because we have those last 2 races, Sonoma and Long Beach, both out in California on the West Coast, and that is going to be a lot of fun. A lot of really great racing, 2 really fun racetracks that I think will bring us a lot of great times. As one car is off, that is Brandon Mefford, the number 83, once again. Oh boy. What a tough day. I said it earlier, this is a tough racetrack, just gets out wide at the end of Thunder Valley, and unfortunately, the 83 goes off. And lets it roll into the grass, of course, to let the field go on by. Just trying to play nicely at that point. We're not done, I think, with thrills and spills this evening, as being lapped there is Eddie Rose. Elliott goes on by. Zach Millett has his own lapped car company. That's Leonardo Elijah he's just passed. Elijah running in the 7th spot in class, 9th overall. There aren't many battles on the racetrack otherwise, though. It's really your top 2 that are closest, oddly enough. As Rose and Roberts. Well, here's Roberts back into the pit lane. That is... Well, it's hard to say how long this stop has been going, but it's been going for a while, I do believe. Zach Millett, though, through Thunder Valley this time by. It'll be 5 laps to go. 5 more times around Mid-Ohio. Just got some new tires back on the car. Jacob Elliott, of course, no tires, only fuel. That's the Lightning McQueen strategy for the 07, the 6, the 3, the 33. The first car taking tires, it looks like this evening, is Patrick Piper, who came in and took tires 7 laps ago. Bit of a different strategy, pitted a little bit earlier. And that Oldsmobile-esque machine runs in the 5th position, just getting by Jason Duckworth in recent laps. Troy Radford, no tires that last stop. He's at least gotten closer to Patrick Piper, but is not there, and I don't think he'll be getting there this evening, considering he's on old tires and Piper's on new tires. And somebody I want to come back to, kind of full circle this evening, Alfie Charon Jr. First start in the series, first start at least this season with these drivers, as a longtime member, has been signed up all season long, and of course has the HBR TV logos plastered all over that number 78. Good to see him here this evening, just haven't seen him yet. And I'd say this is a success. He's kept the car pretty clean. I don't think I've seen him serve any pass-throughs. Just the 2 pit stops for tires and fuel. And I definitely think that is something to be happy with if you're Alfie Sharon. This has been a really tough racetrack. We've seen it for both class of cars. A really tough race to get through. 36 laps is a long time on any road course. And Alfie has handled it with grace. One more lap complete. That's 4 to go for race leader Zach Millett as they keep clicking away. And I don't know that this mathematically locks him in for the championship, but I think realistically, so long as he makes the rest of these races, as I mentioned earlier at the top of the show, he's a lock. I think you would have needed to see somebody like, well, really Sean Roberts or Jason Duckworth. That's about your only options. You would have needed to see one of them get a win here this evening. And certainly a few more cars show up, maybe Spencer Torrance and some others, but that's not happening. Things have also gotten easier lately for Jacob Elliott. He's now got over 10 seconds back to Steve Singer, cruising along nicely as the 07 machine. And the Team 53 setup sauce, Pontiac Grand Prix, if you will. Of course, that is a Camaro headlight package with just a Pontiac logo on it. Does look pretty good, though. "11 seconds now out front." Not to say Steve Singer hasn't been great, though. Of course, he started from the rear of the field after qualifying on pole. Had to start from the back. As low as 9th, though, as they came across the line. That's in class. Actually, that's overall. So considering that's overall, he started from 15th position, gained 6 spots lap 1. That's kind of an insane number, actually, when you think about it that way. As you look at him here ahead of Brandon Mefford, who has gone 2 laps down. Eddie Rose now 4 laps down, unfortunately. Also, this is an interesting little note. Kevin McCann slowly reeling in his brother, Brian McCann. I don't know that he's going to get there. Only 3 laps to go between these two. But slowly closing in as Kevin's going to work by Mark Truxell here towards the keyhole. Truxell just 1 lap down along with Leonardo Elijah. Next up to be lapped will be Troy Radford. And of course, these two are working together, albeit muted in Discord. Look at the deficit drop. If Brian McCann is having some kind of issues, and oh, it might have been that, as he goes by Eddie Rose in turns 5 and 6. Maybe that was the issue. But I don't think this battle between these two is entirely over. 4.5 seconds. I mean, he just made up nearly 2 seconds now in about a half a lap, a little more than a half lap. Kevin McCann is on something right now. No difference in tires between these two. There'll be 2 laps to go this time by, though. Here comes Brandon Mefford. There you see Brian McCann. And here comes Kevin McCann. Eddie Rose pulls over nicely for the 33 car. Lets Kevin go on by. Kevin McCann continuing to reel in his brother in that blue number 3 just up ahead. This could get close between these two. Down to 4 seconds and closing. What a battle we could suddenly have for 3rd spot between a couple of brothers, the 3 and 33, your points leaders. And this would be huge in the standings. This would be an extra spot that the 6 car of Steve Singer could potentially get over the points leader, Brian McCann. If this goes the way it's trending, this could be very, very interesting. Now, I think Kevin might need another lap car to hold up the 3, to hold up Brian. But regardless, these two are going to be a whole lot closer together than I think any of us ever imagined, as we do have white flag out presented by Whiplash Simcams for our race leader. Of course, Zach Millett continuing these headlines. He's won every race but Watkins Glen last week. He's going to win again this evening. We won't call it just yet. He could crash. But boy, what a series of domination it's been for him all season long, as there's Steve Singer across the line and into turn number 1. Utter domination from Zach Millett once again, this time not having to start from the rear since his win streak was reset. He's got to work for that UAV once again. Here you go, though, Kevin McCann, as Truxell goes off track in the background. McCann within 4 seconds. The gains have stalled out recently, but he's still closing in ever so slowly on the 3 car. Meanwhile, overall race leader, overall series points leader, and about to be a 4-time winner, Zach Millett, through Thunder Valley, towards the carousel, rocketing around the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Lexington, Ohio, you have got a drifter and a winner all in one as he slings it out wide and lights up the rears a bit through turns 12 and 13. Winner once again, Zach Millett to victory lane in Mid-Ohio. All the while, here comes Jacob Elliott through turn 13. He's a winner in late model stocks once again. Second time this season. First repeat winner, I do believe. Jacob Elliott, car number 07. Now, Brian McCann, Kevin McCann, how close are they? Oh, they're just not close enough. Kevin McCann stalling out this last lap here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Steve Singer goes through, finishes second. Brian McCann will come through and finish third. And Kevin McCann will have to settle for the fourth position this evening, but a happy birthday out, the driver 33 nonetheless, as this race goes official this evening at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Troy Radford will be the final car that finishes on the lead lap this evening. There goes Truxell across the line in car number 5. And Troy Radford should be around, the carousel here in just a moment. Following up Jason Duckworth by 8 seconds. Patrick Piper as well comes across the line. There's Duckworth in the 73 rather. And Troy Radford, the final car to finish this evening, will come on through and take the checkers from position number 6 in class. Job well done there. Once again, Zach Millett going to head to victory lane in that number 315, as he does so often. And boy, you could turn this into no bull formula drift, if you will. This is a piece of work happening from Zach Millett, putting the rear end out there, looking like it's a grid life event. Style points for sure. Look at that. That is so cool. That is awesome. And lets it go around there, lights it up. Zach Millett, a worthy celebration, certainly earned celebration from car 315, linking these drifts together at the end of the race. Oh boy, what a talent behind the wheel in this super late model and other road cars too. No matter what he drives, it seems like he's got it down pat. What a talent on a road course in general. I know the mood has been all about Zach Millett with those sick drifts, if you will, but Jacob Elliott certainly deserving of a celebration as well here on the front stretch. The Team 53 driver lights it up on turn 13, comes across the line and celebrates himself here at Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. Let's take a look back at our unofficial race results this evening. Certainly a fun one in Mid-Ohio. Let's take a look here as Zach Millett goes to victory lane in car number 315 once again, right back to his usual winning ways. Jacob Elliott goes second, and you see a whole lot of red late model stocks lighting up the entire scoring ticker here this evening. Jason Duckworth, though, 7th spot. So your top 5 in late model stocks: Elliott, Singer, McCann, and Piper. Brian McCann with the edge over his brother just by about 4 seconds between those two in 3 and 33. Troy Radford, Leonardo Elijah, Mark Truxell make up the rest of your top 10 overall. But it's Alfie down there in position number 11, Mefford there in position number 12, and a few other stragglers at the end: Eddie Rose, Sean Roberts, Eric Beadle. All very rough evenings behind the wheel. That said, our drivers are ready to talk to us nice and punctually. I love that. These guys really get it here at the interview. Zach Millett already ready to talk to us, and what a night behind the wheel once again. By the way, great drifts there after the checkers. That was quite spectacular, but another win, another 36 lap sled. You didn't have to start from the rear this time, Zach. I'm sure that was nice.
Oh man, I can get used to that. That was that was fantastic.
Now, of course, you're back to the rear next race out at Mosport, and probably most of the races left to go. It's been a season of dominance for you. Is there any advice, I suppose, that you could give out to these super late model guys? Of course, it's a very difficult car to drive. The tires just seem to fall right off of that thing. What advice could you give to these guys that you're racing with?
Man, if anything, I'd say just try to take care of those tires, those rear tires. If you abuse them in the first 3-4 laps of that stint, they pretty much they fight back the entire rest of the run. So if you kind of try to take care of them for the first little bit, they tend to last a little bit better. But I mean, these cars try to kill you every second. That's what I like about them. You know, it's just, they're really hard to drive, and I don't know, man, they makes you earn it. That's for sure.
definitely going to have to earn it these last few races as well. Mosport is not an easy track to get around in any car, just like here at Mid-Ohio. Very fast, very challenging, and an older scan as well, meaning there's less curbing you can take advantage of next time out on August 13th. How do you feel about that for a super late model?
Man, I don't know. I love the track. I haven't run these cars there yet, but Steve and I have both done quite a few truck races over there, and it's a great place, man. That track is just fantastic. So I'm thinking these cars will be a blast. We're gonna put the practice in as always, and see what we can do coming from the back.
Well, hopefully you don't have to drift at all during the race, but good job linking some of those together. That was pretty cool to watch at the cool down. Congratulations once again, Zach. Hopefully we're talking to you. I'm sure we'll be talking to you in some regard next time out at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park.
Hell yeah, man. I hope so.
Zach Millett with yet another race win. I think the most easily predicted win we've ever seen. But Jacob Elliott takes a win that he really, I think, had to drive away from the field and earn over the course of an hour of racing. Jacob, 36 laps. You were out front for every single one of them, aside from maybe one or two in the pit cycles. Really big time job well done this evening behind the wheel of the 07. How'd it happen for you?
Yeah, I just want to say, first off, thank you to Team 53. I had Justin Laxon up on crew chief and me tonight, so he was a big help getting me calmed down there at the start and getting a good pit plan together. But yeah, I mean, it's just running a consistent race. Started out front with a good qualifying session and just clicking off lap times.
And I'm glad you mentioned the start of the race. I think that's something that we take for granted, myself especially, in these races. Very hectic starts, and of course, cold tires, bringing everything up to temperature. You're right on the back end of the super late models until they start to pull away with the straightaways. What's all of that like? How stressful is that to you as a driver?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely tough, especially when you have a good driver like Brian out there starting on your outside. I just wanted to get through turn one cleanly and get a good run down that stretch. That way I can stay out front. But super late models, luckily, you know, my luck these past couple weeks, they've been kind of deadly to me. So we had a small super field, and I think that really helped.
And of course, it's going to be tough for you to drive your way into the points championship this season. I don't know that's going to happen with the race you missed to start things off, but you're certainly making headway. Is there any kind of points on your mind, or is it just go out there and go trophy hunting?
Well, I believe we get a drop race. So if I'm able to make it to the rest of the races, I'm going to be right there in the point standing.
Well, there you go. I didn't actually realize there probably was a note somewhere. There's a drop. I'm not sure. There's so many leagues to keep tied together, some with drops, some without. Well, that would bring you right back in, and at that point, Jacob, I think we're talking about you potentially around the championship lead, considering this is the first repeat winner I believe we've had all season. So, Jacob, pat yourself on the back there and go get them next week. Mosport coming up next. How do you feel?
Honestly, I've done one race at Mosport, so we're gonna see how it goes.
I'm sure the rest of the field likes hearing that.
I got 2 weeks to prepare, and we got some good data over there at Team 53, so we got something to work off of. We'll just have to make it happen.
Well, congratulations once again, Jacob. I don't know why I said Justin there for a second. Jacob, job well done. Hopefully we're seeing you in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully I talk to you in 2 weeks.
That's the hope. Car 07 back to victory lane this evening in the Noble Can-Am Series, finishing second place over in the super late models. Mr. Jason Duckworth. I went looking for him. Looks like not ready to talk to us this evening, but Steve Singer sure is. Second place in the late model stocks, and a little bit of a different race for you. You had to come from the rear. You've seen a whole lot of guys do that this season. You haven't had to do it until this evening. What was that like behind the wheel, Steve?
Well, I was not really looking forward to the whole thing. I spent, I don't know, probably an hour's worth of practice early in the week, and I just couldn't get a feel for the place. Yeah, I had some pace, but not where I felt like I needed to be. And free race practice tonight, happy hour, same thing. And then even the first 50 minutes here in the main session, I was just not feeling it. In the last few minutes of the session, I kind of figured it out. I don't know what it is I figured it out, but it got faster. And I don't know, I went from there. I had a good battle with Brian McCann there for a little bit, but once we got clear of him, we started to put some distance, and it was just a drive after that, just keeping all four tires on the track.
Now, for clarification's sake, Jacob mentioned there might be a drop. Honestly, I'll be honest. A whole lot of leagues, they run together sometimes. Is there a drop week this season?
I think there is at least one. I'll have to double check to be sure. I'm pretty sure I factored one into that, knowing that I wasn't going to be here for at least one of the weekends, or at least I thought I wasn't going to be. We'll see, but I think there is a drop.
And that changes this points picture entirely. That brings Jacob Elliott in, and him getting a second win on the season, first driver to do so, that makes him a much larger threat just by going to victory lane. Of course, then he's got to start from the rear at Mosport in 2 weeks. How do you take advantage of that and try to put yourself back on top?
Well, it's kind of hit and miss. It's more of a, the guy that wins, he's got to get that penalty and go to the back so he doesn't run away and dominate. But we've seen it in the past already that even going to the back, even myself today, I was still able to drive back up into P2. And the guys that win races in this series, they've got the ability to work their way to the front, even if it's starting from the rear or even pit lane.
We'll see how things go in a couple of weeks' time. August 13th, next time out at Motorsports. Have you turned any laps yet? How do you feel for it, specifically you?
I like Canadian Tire Motorsports Park quite a bit, as they call it, Mosport and CTMP, whatever you want to say. But it's a fun place. I know me and Zach have got a lot of laps around there in the truck when there was some open racing that we did there. But I don't know. It's a fun place. I'm looking forward to it either way.
It was a great truck track when NASCAR was still going there with the trucks, but of course still a great Pinty Series track, always a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys get a little rough and tumble like the trucks used to do behind the wheel. Next time out, I'm sure it'll be fun. Congratulations. P2 for you. Hopefully it's one spot higher next week.
Thanks, Andrew. Again, I want to thank, obviously, you guys for doing the broadcast, HBR TV for helping us out, Castle Products, of course, that S4 guy, agentdotson.com, and, of course, shout out to hbrshops.com.
Absolutely. A lot of people making things happen for the number 6 car this evening. Steve Singer, second place. And the other second place this evening will be Jason Duckworth, who we have a chance to catch up with now in car 73. And Jason, I know it's a difficult day at the office anytime you unload these super late models. They have been a challenge all season long. What was it like for you behind the wheel?
Oh, always slippery like normal with the super late model, easy on the throttle. And this time around, I wanted to take just one set of tires in the middle. So I was trying to take care of the tires to keep them to run. That last stint, which was a little bit longer, splash of fuel and finish and just keep the race car under me. There's so much elevation change, and with the super late model power, it's all over the place. But it's fun.
And we don't have maybe as many blind crests next week at Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, but you do have 2 really big sweepers, a lot of elevation change at Mosport next time out. How do you attack that, especially with these supers feeling like they're all over the place?
That's going to be a learning for me. I've only run Mosport in cars with downforce, so this will be a very interesting experience for sure.
And of course, we know a lot of these drivers from past series that we've seen, whether it was past iterations with these drivers specifically or other leagues or what have you. Jason, what's your background specifically? You mentioned downforce cars at CTMB. That's a far cry from a super late model or a late model stock. So what brings Jason Duckworth to the racetrack usually? What do you usually run?
I like running the Radical SR8. I like running the Indy car. Oh, I can't say that anymore, can I?
Good.
Yeah, and I mean in real life, I do like to run my WRX at tracks like VIR and Carolina Motorsports Park. It's just what I like to do.
How close are you to CMP?
I live up in Charlotte, so CMP it's an hour and a half away from me.
I never knew. You're right down the road, Hickory area here. That's crazy. Small world. CMP is a great racetrack. Doesn't it need to be on iRacing?
I mean, NASCAR uses it to test, so
yeah,
maybe.
Garage 56 was tested there. Well, it'd be cool to see. I don't know if WRX, aside from the rallycross cars, ever to make it to iRacing, but it would be cool to see Canadian Tire, Carolina Motorsports Park, CMP right down the road in Kershaw, South Carolina, make it. Jason, good to talk to you. We don't do that a whole lot. Good to talk to you, and that's awesome. Right down the road. Anyways, Jason, P2, congratulations once again. Hopefully we're talking to you next week in Canada.
All right, thanks, guys. Good broadcast. Talk to you later.
Jason Duckworth, P2 this evening in class, of course. P7 when it all works out overall, and I can't blame these guys. They are up against one monster of a car. I think the only thing that'd be more difficult on the racetrack would be a Lotus 49, and even that might be a little more normal to drive on these road courses. Next up for these guys, though, we've been saying it all night long, Canadian Tire Motorsport Park, one of the best racetracks in the world. But iRacing, we need the new scan at this place. Boy, wouldn't that be nice to have the fresh pavement from CTMP. That would be a big-time help, but the old scan is going to make things difficult with old curbing, old pavement, very little runoff at most of those corners. The only corner I could think of that really has any runoff at all is turn 8 at the end of the Mario Andretti straightaway, and even that is not much. So these drivers will have to be on their best behavior next time out in round number 6. We mentioned earlier the upcoming broadcast here at Pit Stop TV as a whole. Boy, look at this list of them. Monday evening, tomorrow night, July 31st, we head out to Hickory Motor Speedway, right down the road from me. We tried to get out there this weekend, but rain just completely screwed those plans up. Thankfully, no rain in the sim yet. Ain't got to worry about that. We're going legend car racing tomorrow evening at Hickory Motor Speedway, thanks to Elite Performance Industries, Short Track Mondays. That's going to be a lot of fun. I want to see a 35-lap feature tomorrow night. Make sure to tune in 8 Eastern for that, as that's our final Advanced Legends broadcast of our Short Track Mondays this season in 2023 season number 3. Then Wednesday evening, the UFL Elite Series returns with the Gen 4 NASCAR Cup car from the mid-2000s, think 2006, 2007, that era of racing for the NASCAR Nextel and Sprint Cup Series. Going to be a lot of fun. Pre-COT times, if you will, as we go to Daytona International Speedway on the bumpy version. Got to keep it time period accurate, if you will, going to the 2008 scan of Daytona International Speedway. Right about the same time CTMP was scanned. August 2nd, we kick that season off. Race number 1 of 12 at 9 Eastern. Then Sunday evening, we head out to Michigan International Speedway in just about a week, minus 44 minutes, if you will, to Michigan for the Shake and Bake Racing Butt Kicker Cup Series with the NASCAR Gen 7 cars. So a big time difference there. You've got the Gen 4 cars, which technically span from the 90s into the 2000s, then the Gen 7 cars, which were introduced last year in 2022 and continue on in 2023 and beyond. What a stark difference between Wednesdays and Sundays now here at Pit Stop TV, but glad to have you all watching. Make sure to follow along on social media to make it to each of these broadcasts. That'll do it for us this evening. Once again, a big thank you to our partners here at Pit Stop TV, Whiplash Media Simcams, ATVO, and CC's Business get it done for us. And that will do it tomorrow night. Make sure to tune in, 8 p.m. Eastern. We'll see you from Hickory Motor Speedway thanks to these partners behind the scenes, whatever you want to call it, in audio, ATVO, Whiplash Media, Simcams, OBS, and iRacing.com, helping us get to the track each and every broadcast. We'll see you next time. Hickory, tomorrow night, Legend Cars, don't miss it. EPI, Short Track Mondays. We'll see you there.